Welcome back. You are tuning in to Traders Nation. My pleasure to have with us here today book author Liz Lynch. She authored Smart Networking, Attract a Following in Person and Online. Liz, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
I'm great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good, good. More than welcome. More than welcome. How do we overcome resistance to networking, whether the problem is skill or will?
Well, even though we don't realize it, we all network all the time.
Yeah.
And, whenever you ask for a recommendation for a plumber, a pediatrician, or a hairdresser, you're networking. You're asking someone you know to help connect you with someone else. So smart networking is just about taking that same ease and approach that we have in our social lives and using that in our professional relationships to help advance our careers and build our businesses.
All right. So that's a good example because I know some people, they're introverts. And so that may be a good way to point out how they could successfully network professionally, correct?
Exactly. And, I'm an introvert, too, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to write this book is to dispel one of the biggest myths that you have to be an extrovert.
Right.
The first event I attended, I lasted 5 minutes. I literally ran out of the room.
Sure.
But, you learn to develop confidence over time, and there is a way that you can network and be out there, and that's what smart networking is all about. You don't have to go to 5 events a week like my extroverted friends do.
Right.
If you only can go to one, then I really show you how to maximize it so that you can get the most out of that.
All right. Now, is it entirely possible? Is it easier for extroverts to be able to succeed better versus introverts? I mean, we touched on the introvert side. What about the opposite side, extroverts?
It's interesting. I think extroverts have no problem getting out there. They're completely fine walking into a room of 200 people.
Yeah.
But the disadvantage they may have, and not everyone has this, is that they may shine the spotlight too long on themselves.
I see.
And part of networking is really trying to get to know other people too, and showing them that you're interested in learning about them. And I think that's where introverts can really shine because
Sure.
they tend to ask a lot of questions and give others the spotlight.
All right. So what's the difference between effective networking, schmoozing, and sucking up? I mean, I can tell our producer, Steve, he's really good at sucking up.
Is he?
I think.
Well, that's great. If you need something from him, then that's great, right?
Right. I can okay, here it comes.
You can tell.
That's right. So what's the difference between the two? Is it effective in all areas as long as you're conservative?
Well, I think it's about not, it's being authentic. So networking is not about falsely flattering people to get
Right.
things out of them, and pretending to like someone just to get their help. It's really if you don't like someone, there are plenty of fish in the sea to be able to get what you want. So
Right.
true networking is really the process of building and maintaining genuine and supportive relationships with people who are willing to help you because they know, like, and trust you, and because they know that you're willing to help them.
Right.
So I always say that if you aren't not able to kind of make the relationship a two-way street, then you're not really networking.
Right. Now, this is important because you said genuine. I think that's the key word because if you're at a cocktail party or at a party or what have you, and you hear the things that people say, but if you could actually see with a bubble, like a balloon, what they're actually thinking, it would be entirely different in some instances, wouldn't it?
It's true, and they lose all credibility if you overhear someone talk about someone else,
Yeah.
and then you see them act a different way in front of the person for real.
Yeah.
You're like, this person, I don't know if I can trust this person, and that's part of having a relationship is being able to trust someone
Right.
that they'll keep their word and that they'll do what they say and that they are who they are.
All right. So it's important. Be genuine, and you'll earn trust, right?
Absolutely, and that's
Right.
so important in terms of networking.
I think it is, and I think in all aspects of our lives too, by the way.
Definitely.
All right, so what's the best method to identify gaps in one's network and develop a plan to fill them? Because, we all have gaps in our networking. We got to fill them somehow, right?
Exactly. Well, the knee-jerk reaction that some people have when they know that they need to start networking, like they start a new business or they just lose their job, is that they just start going to events and kind of meeting whoever they need to meet. But smart networking starts with a purpose. So once you articulate really what your goal is, then you can figure out, well, who do I need around me to help me achieve that goal? And of those people, who do I know already? And then who am I missing? And then you tend to then go to those places where you can meet those people. And sometimes you have to go to an actual event, or sometimes a way that you can meet those people is through an introduction through someone that you know. So once you can identify the people that you need to meet, then it's a little bit easier to figure out what you need to do to meet them.
All right. Now we want to get started. We want to start networking. It's important for us to do that, okay? So what's a good method to tap into existing contacts? And really, it's kind of mastering the art of ask, isn't it?
So much so, exactly. People love to help. It feels good to help, but you have to make it easy for them to help us. And smart networkers have to master the art of the ask, because what's the point of having this great network if you don't know how to ask for things? You know? So part of it is, one, is making your request appropriate to the level of your relationship. So something that your best friend would be willing to crawl over glass to do for you. A distant connection or someone you just met is not going to be willing to do that. So you have to know what your boundaries are. The second thing is to usually ask for something that's easy to give. And so very few people have a job in their back pocket to give you. And so asking for one is just going to cut the conversation off. So what I tell people to do is, the easiest thing to ask for and the easiest thing for people to give is advice, because people love to talk about their experiences and give recommendations. So once you can start the conversation and engage the other person giving you advice, then it opens up this whole new world where they'll think of ways that they can help you. And they'll be more likely to follow through because they thought of it.
You tap into their experience, and people love to be able, to bloviate from that. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, just ask them, hey, you're a pro at this, and what do you think? What's your opinion on this, and what's the best way? And just tap into their experience and let them do the work and let them run on with it.
So true. And whatever you want, there is someone who's gone through that already, so to be able to learn from their experience is tremendously valuable.
All right. Now, you mentioned boundaries, and I think there is a certain amount of etiquette when asking, and isn't there, when it comes to asking?
Definitely. Definitely.
Don't overcross them boundaries, right?
Yeah, it's about the boundaries. It's about, it's putting yourself in the other person's shoes and saying, you know what, how would I feel if this request came to me kind of out of the blue? And it depends who's asking, right? And so that's part of it. And the other part is really whenever you ask, is to take the pressure off of people, because what happens if someone really wants to help you and can't, then they feel really badly, and then they lose face with you, and it feels really awkward to be around you. So if you take the pressure off and say, look, I know you're busy, or you may not have time to do this, or you're not comfortable yet, but, and so if you kind of start the request that way, then it kind of gives them an easy way to save face if for some reason they can't help you. And then you always have the relationship to go back to in the future, as opposed to it being destroyed from the beginning.
Now, here's the thing. When people ask me things and I can't answer them, I just simply say, listen, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. But here, try this person, and I'll put them in contact with you, and maybe they can help you. So,
that's so great. Yeah.
What do you think? Is that a good way to go?
That is, if you can't give the person specific help that they're asking for, that's the perfect way to say, you know what, I'm not sure I can help you with that, but I may be able to connect you to someone who can, or I have another idea for you. Have you looked, at this direction?
Right. So you give them an answer, you help them out without helping them out.
Exactly. Well, you help them to the best of your ability, and however you're comfortable with them in terms of the relationship.
Right. All right. Now, we need to get out there, and what are some of the good ways, and let's say even at times like this, maybe inexpensive ways to get out there and get visible? Are we talking speaking, talking e-sign publishing? What about blogs, stuff like that on the Internet?
Yeah, what I love about blogs is, there are over 115 million blogs out there now, and, the vast majority are still people's personal blogs, what they had for breakfast that day. It's an increasing number. Exactly, like Special K. But an increasing number of them are business blogs where people are opining about news and trends in their industry, and it makes them look like an expert. So if you are applying for a job and it comes down between you and and someone else, and the recruiter Googles you, and they find that you have this blog with all this rich and deep insight and wisdom, who's going to get the job? So it's really easy to start a blog. 110 million people have done it. So it's just a matter of putting the time in terms of the investment in your career.
Now, Liz, we need to be careful if we're out there blogging, right? Because if you're out there and you're very opinionated, it can come back and haunt you, can't it?
It could. You know, you never want to say anything that if you saw it on the front page of the New York Times or Wall Street Journal, that it would embarrass you. Yeah. But on the other hand, you know, people, we kind of like our if we think of op-ed pieces in the newspaper, we kind of like our columnists a little bit opinionated. You know, you don't want to be you know, too over the top, but you do want to have an opinion.
All right. Where can we find a copy of your book today, Smart Networking?
It's available where books are sold online and in select bookstores across the U.S.
All right. Online at select bookstores. Barnes & Noble will probably be a good spot. Amazon.com.
Yeah, and Borders. Yep,
Borders? Okay, good. And do you have a website?
Yes, it's networkingexcellence.com.
Networkingexcellence.com. I love it. All right, head on over there today. Today we have Liz Lynch. She book authored Smart Networking, Attract a Following in Person and Online. Liz, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
You're more than welcome. All right, head on over to her website. Pick up a copy of her book today, too. Now more than ever do you need smart networking, without a doubt. All right, you are tuned in to Traders Nation. We will be right back. Stay tuned.